Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Purpose and Profit. Today, I am joined by the wonderful Tiffany Chau. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for inviting me here.
Yes. So I am really excited to talk to you today. We have a lot of things in common, and then there's like a whole thing that you're doing on your social media that is really cool that I think everyone would be interested in. So before we get to that, I kind of wanted to know like what got you into real estate and into this space?
Right. So I really got into real estate in 2023, I believe, when I joined Sub 2. Um, I got into that actually because I was laid off from my job. I was working at a tech company. And it was during that big tech downfall. So like everyone was getting laid off. And I made it through like the first year, like not laid off. And I was so excited. And then the next year I was like, all right, we're not going to make it either. It was a startup. So I saw it coming actually. Anyway, so after that, I was left at this like fork in the road, right? Where it was like, find another job or, you know, which I wasn't really enjoying anyway, but it was secure and it was what I knew, or go the other route. And then that's when the pace, YouTube wormhole started sucking me in. And then I went down that rabbit hole. And then before I knew it, I joined Gator first, lower barrier of entry. And then I went straight into Sub 2 like a month later. Anyway, so that's how I got into real estate. I then, soon after realized I didn't want to do wholesaling, so I joined top tier TC. So I've been doing TC work actually for the last 2 years or so. Yeah. Before that, my parents actually, I as I was growing up, they were in real estate as well. My mom was a realtor. My dad is a mortgage broker. So they've been going hand in hand like 30, almost 40 years now. So they're still going at it. So I grew up with that in the background, but that wasn't really something I focused on. But I always heard all these terminologies, these real estate. My mom would bring me when I was younger to open houses. We'd stay in the car, we'd go and we'd lead people, guide people into the house. So that was kind of my background in the real estate world.
So cool how that kind of comes full circle for you.
Right.
That's
I
very
was because they told me to become a realtor, and I was like, I'm never gonna do that. That's silly. Real estate is boring. But I guess the way Pace started like teaching us about the opportunities behind it really excited me because I'm really like entrepreneurial in heart, and that's why I've never stayed at the same W-2 for over 2 or 3 years. I'd always just kind of be on the move. I used to teach yoga. I used to be in real estate photography, which actually was real estate, right? So I've been doing a whole bunch of different things just because I knew inside it was really about entrepreneurship, wanting to build something bigger than just like building someone else's dream.
absolutely. Well, and I think that the most beautiful thing about real estate and what I love about it is that it is ever changing. Like I have the same joke too, you know how Cody says like you're just unemployable, and that's like me to a heart. Like I need problems to solve and I need outside the box thinking and all of those things. So that's incredible. And you,
Cody, you mean Cody Sanchez,
yeah.
right? Same Cody. Yeah.
So you own a TC company though, right?
Right. TC Squad. I co-own that with Sabrina and Emma. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And then, are you doing anything else in this space? Are you trying to get into anything? What's kind of your long-term vision right now? I'm sure it changes frequently, but in the real estate space.
In the real estate space, I my goal is really, so I've been leading into the AI world. So my goal is actually to help current businesses in the space to better streamline their systems, their processes, and be able to implement more AI into their workflows. I haven't really spent too much time and effort building and acquiring, but I think that's like another piece of the puzzle that I'm slowly kind of leaning more into at the same time. So yeah, it's really just about building out systems for others. I think more processes or more partnerships, part
Absolutely.
people who have that, co-living experience, to just kind of wedge myself in there with them, supplying value in the terms of in regards to operations and systems.
Yeah, that's genius. And I think that in our space, we have so many people that don't have those skills that you're going to be able to probably grow your portfolio 100 times as fast because you're going to be able to provide support to the person that's just out there chasing the butterflies while you can kind of like create the system and the process. And that's really amazing.
Right. And I'm really leaning into what Pace has said. He's really ingrained in us the fact that people are all working for our own benefit, right? So you're going out there, you're acquiring properties, you're learning all these things, you're failing, and you're building and you're building, and you're really just building that for me, right? That's the way I see it, right? So like I don't need to know how to, go find the right property to make a perfect pad split, right? Like you know how to do that. I just need to take your knowledge. You've been building that knowledge for me, and I appreciate that. And I want to build, give you other stuff in return for that knowledge. And so that's why I love, this real estate community, because it's really taught me about this networking, this law of reciprocity, right? And just being able to trade off. Is my connection going bad?
It
I
is.
think it is. But yeah, so it's really just about utilizing each other's networks, resources, and building together.
Yeah, I do think that owners club definitely enlightens us in a new way of how to use that collaboration to further each of our like when you work with me and I work with you and we kind of carry this on, everybody gets further faster, and it's kind of a gift.
I love that. So true.
So I kind of want to circle around to your AI stuff, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit. And I have to tell you that I follow you on Instagram, and I'm a little bit blown away by some of the things you share. That you're like testing AI, and it's kind of like just the possibilities that are out there are kind of mind blowing. So first, I want to kind of know what encouraged you to go ahead and try this.
I love that you led into that saying that, because that is really the reason why I started posting more about AI. The purpose of it is really to not only just learn on my own end, but to open people's minds to the possibilities of AI and how there's so many tools out there that can help us with our daily lives. I think a lot of us, and it's, you know, people are stuck in this certain mindset of doing things the same way, and it's really hard to break out of that cycle. So by just putting out videos, my goal is to really just, you know, increase their awareness, like let them know, like, you don't have to be spending 3 hours a day looking at your email and cleaning up your inbox, right? There's an AI that can do that in like 10 seconds, right? And just like once someone starts making that first link, suddenly like they realize this can also be addressed with AI. I can make this easier, maybe some automation here, and then before you know it, like you've moved on to a more modernized business structure. And so after I realized how cool this all was, I couldn't hold in that information. I had to share it with others. And this felt like the perfect way to just spread the awareness. I like when I first started, my initial thought was like, why would I need to do this? Right? Like everyone has access to this. AI is so accessible. Like it would just be redundant for me to put out this information, right? But I've gotten so many people DMing me and commenting, like blown away by this. And that's when I realized like what I think is so accessible, it really it is accessible, but because there's so much out there, it's really overwhelming to a lot of people. And because of that, they actually shut themselves away from the AI, and it makes them not want to get into it because there's so much, right? So by just feeding them like piece by piece, video by video in a small little reel, a minute minute and a half, like that's all you need to just, make that subtle change in your mindset.
And it's such a valid point that you bring up, because I feel that way. Sometimes I don't even, like, I'm so stuck in doing my day to day that I don't even know like where to look or to like find these things. Or when you've never thought that that's like a possibility, like you just mentioned about the email, most people don't even know that that's possible. And so I feel like you are giving such great insight to the capabilities that are out there to make people curious. And so I'm a little interested in what your favorite one has been so far. Like, what is the favorite one that you were just like a little blown away? You didn't expect it to work, however it worked.
For me, I think right now one of my favorites is it seems really simple, right? It's called Wisp AI, and it's just instead of having to type out everything, you just press a button on your keyboard and you just speak it and then it'll just type it all out for you. It seems really simple, but like the fact that you can just use it in any platform on your computer, you can put it in your web browser, you can put it in your messages, in your Slack, anywhere, right? And then just talk. And then not only do you talk, but it also makes what you say sound better. It knows the context in which you're talking, because I'm not the most eloquent person, right? I always stutter over my words and I talk like and then I correct myself, right? But it knows like from the full context of what I'm saying, the most important piece, and it just types that in there for me. So Wisp is really, like, in terms of most useful for me, it's that one. And also, like, I can just use it to condense and make my emails better. For instance, like, people can go in, like, type in a message or type in what they want to say, put it into ChatGPT, say, hey, can you make this email better? And copy that, paste it back into the Gmail. That's one way to do it. Or I just highlight it and say, hey, Wisp, make this email sound more professional. And then it'll just do it right there. So it'll just save me that time. So it's two different AI tools, but this one just makes it even more streamlined. So
Yeah.
simple, yet very very helpful.
Have you used Gemini? Yeah. I think that one's pretty good for email too. Yeah. I mean, nowadays, if you're not sending quality emails and you're not doing things like that, probably really.
I will argue too that some people like AI emails can be so formalized that, like, sometimes typing like without capitalizing and just make it seem super informal gets people's attention better than the perfect emails. So there's two different sides to it, but I agree with you. Either way, though, using AI for your emails is like total time saver.
How do you think everyone will be? And I know this is like a hard question, because it's like asking people at the start of cell phones to kind of expect where we are with cell phones now, that you're like walking around with a computer in your life inside your phone. But where do you think like AI will be going, like in the next few years? Like, where do you hypothesize that kind of?
Well, at the current trajectory that we're at, I think even before a few years, like, we're gonna have 100% AI businesses. A lot of tasks that people have are going to be changing. A lot of things that we currently spend 90% of our time on is going to be something completely different. I think there's going to be a really, really high emphasis on being able to not use these AI tools, but to manage these tools, because, like, right now we're like spending time learning how to do this, like to do this AI tool, right? How to create an agent and all that. But all that stuff is really just going to get automated. And this is my hypothesis, right? It's all going to get automated, and these agents are going to be just self-built. And our main task is just going to be able to, at a high level, manage these agents to go do things. And that's really happening already. But I think even to a larger degree in the next, like, year, half a year, maybe even sooner. Yeah, and a lot of people talk about the whole your jobs will be replaced by AI, and I kind of think that is true, but it's really just going to be replaced. And you know, not to say that everyone's going to get fired, but some people will, right? And they're going to need to have transferable skills and be able to pivot, right? And increase their knowledge of how to use this at even a high level, and be able to, transfer their skill sets to something else. Pace is always talking about like roofing and how there's already like AI roofing companies out there. And so if you buy a roofing business now, like it's going to become obsolete very soon. So just because I'm also really into business buying. And so um, I always keep that in mind, like what business that I'm looking at is going to be, how's that going to be impacted by AI? Right. And is that something that I even want to acquire now, knowing that it might be obsolete in the next 2 years? So I was looking at roofing companies, for a long time. And now I'm just like, oh, no, better not.
But
I'm
I'm
not sure.
curious, instead of making those businesses obsolete, kind of like you said, that there's just going to be that pivot where I think that like you're smart enough and you're ahead of it enough that you could look at a roofing business right now and be like, okay, in a year, I won't need all of these employees or contractors because I'll be able to put the system in place in order to use AI. And I think that's the difference between people like us that are trying to buy businesses and people that are trying to buy businesses and keep them like they've always been.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
because
a big part of it.
yeah. And so I think that, um, I think it's incredible. And so my question to you would be, obviously, I think that everyone should find a way to work with you because I think that you are light years ahead of where most people are right now. And that being around someone like you and having that mind opened will just further them so much farther in this space. But is there a different way that you think that people should really lean in to try to keep up with the ever changing like space?
How should they lean in? I would say, to, I don't want to say to follow all of the latest updates because AI is moving so fast. I think if you fall into the wormhole of updates, you can get, you can fall too deep into that and just get obsessed with that and spend all day just like trying to keep up with everything. So I would say to really just look at your own business and look at where you're spending most of your time and just address each piece one by one. Obviously, you can, follow me on Instagram, right? And just like try keep these new tools top of mind. And every time you do something, just think like, how could AI impact that? Like, is there a tool that allows me to do this, 10 times faster? And like, it's very likely that there already is something with all the things that keep popping up every single day. And so that switch of just like, can AI do this for me? Is really just that big difference, that that can change where you are in your current business instantly.
I love that. Such a solid question. Well, I don't want to keep you for too long, so thank you so much for your time. Um, is there any other way besides Instagram that you want anyone to reach out to you or connect with you or anything like that?
Instagram would probably be the best way. DM me if you want to chat. I'm pretty responsive in my DMs. You can, no, just DM me. Don't email me.
Perfect.
Get lost.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for today. I hope everyone reaches out to you so you can kind of be the catalyst that opens their mind to what's possible inside their business. So,
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was so much fun talking to you.
yes, thank you. All right. Talk soon.
Bye.